Thank you for being here bright and early to kick off Web Summit. My name is Petra Sundell, and I'm the founder and CEO of Upbeater. We are the organizer of this event. At Upbeater, we are building something we call human AI managers. It's a hybrid human AI employee. Actually, we built two of them, marketing Maggie and sales Sara. And the goal is to leverage the efficiency of AI mixed with the expertise and the sensitivity and trust of humans, so that we can help companies grow with sales and marketing without losing the human touch. And I'm here with my team. Sara is in the back. Anki is also in the back. Today's session is just about that. It's about the Human AI Alliance. Not how AI will replace us, not how we will resist AI, but rather how can we work together with AI to amplify both our capabilities, but also AI's capabilities. And I'm here with an amazing panel today, all working in the space from different angles that I'm very curious to hear more about. Rodrigo, Paula, and Arjun. I'm going to let them introduce themselves instead of me doing all the talking. And then we're also I'm going to go over some questions, and we will wrap up with some questions from the audience. Yeah, so let's kick it off. Maybe, Arjun, do you want to start to tell us a little bit more about yourself and great learnings and what you do in the human-centric AI space?
Sure, yeah. Well, thank you, Petra, for inviting me, and great to meet all of you and my fellow panelists. As Petra said, my name is Arjun. I've actually been in the education space for the last now 13 years. We started a company in India called Great Learning. Well, in those days, I was in analytics, so we were basically offering a course in analytics. Then it became data science, and then big data, and then AI, and then generative AI, and AI agents. So we've seen the entire space. We grew from about 20 learners that we had in 2013 in a year to now about 12 million on our platform. So we have learners from pretty much every country out there, which of course we've been one of the first in that space in offering courses around upskilling. So our focus has been that. We sold the company about 4 years back, but I'm still part of the leadership. In Lisbon, I came here about 2 years back. We took a year off traveling after we meaning I have a family, my wife and 2 kids. And then we came to Lisbon about 2 years. Well, we traveled across the world and then ended up in Lisbon, loved the space, and then decided to stay. In Lisbon, I started teaching AI for kids. For the last 6 months, I've been offering courses for kids. I've taught 40 kids so far. These are in the ages of 12 to 16. So now I have a space in Avenida de República. They're in a similar co-working space. I've taken a meeting room. Mostly international students, because I can speak only English at the moment. But it's going very well. So of course, the whole reason why I started this was earlier, the barrier, at least the way I think of it, the barrier for creating things, and whether it's a website, whether it's an app, whether it's a service, whether it's a product, you had to actually be my background is in computer science, so you had to be a computer scientist to do many of these things. And the courses that we were offering over the years has been in those areas. But in the last, of course, everybody here is following as well. It's just become easy for anybody to create anything. So I thought, can I teach kids to create stuff? Later, maybe when I get a chance, I can talk about that. Some of the projects that my kids meaning the kids in my class, are doing is just incredible. I'm blown away by, just give them a few tools and then inspire them a little bit, and then they create magic. So that's what is exciting me right now. And we can talk about the projects later. So that's what I do.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, I know a little bit. We have spoken a little bit before, and we'll come back to that because I also think it's great what you do. Thank you so much and welcome. Paula, we're curious to hear a little bit more about you and Interhuman AI.
Yes. Great to be here at this amazing location. Definitely, it was worth climbing the hill to get here. It's a great view. Yeah, so I'm Paula from Interhuman AI. What we're doing is adding social intelligence to AI applications. Because as many of you know, playing with ChatGPT and some of the other large language models, AI has become very good at understanding words, but not so much at understanding us as humans. If you think about human communication, words represent only like 7% of how we communicate. There's the tone of voice, the body language, all of that. So that is something that AI is currently not seeing, not able to understand. And we add that social intelligence to AI application. And my background is also in computer science, but then I fell in love with the human brain, started working at a pharmaceutical company that was focused fully on providing solutions for brain health disorders. So we were looking into depression, schizophrenia, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, very difficult conditions, and very difficult to understand what's actually happening underneath. And I was, as a computer scientist coming to a pharma company and saying like everything, is logical and we can solve any problem, and then working with the medical doctors that were supposed to know what's happening in the brain when you get depressed or you have schizophrenia or Alzheimer's, they actually don't know for sure. Very surprising, unfortunately. And then I started working more with, well, how can we use technology to help people better understand themselves and each other? And that generated this flame in me that, okay, let's see what we can do with technology to help us be better humans, better understand ourselves, because we don't know.
Yeah.
Is there something that can help us? So that's that's also what we're doing with Interhuman AI. And the way that we started was actually with providing an empathic coach that people can use to better understand themselves. So asking the tough questions, to reflect and so on, based on your tone of voice, body language. When you say something, it might mean something different depending on how you say it. So if I sit like this and say I'm happy for my new job, or I'm saying the same thing, I'm happy for my new job. It's very different.
Yeah.
Currently, AI cannot see that, right?
Yeah.
That's what we're building.
Amazing. Yeah, that is very true. It's like when you write it down, it's the same.
It's the same.
Yeah. Thank you, Paula, and welcome. This is a good transition over to Rodrigo at Upspeech. You are also building something in the space. So can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yes, of course. So hello, guys. Thank you also for having me here. So I'm Rodrigo. I'm a founder of Upspeech. Upspeech, as we say, it's the first multidimensional ecosystem for people who stutter. So it's a platform that supercharges speech therapy. It helps the patients practice outside of the speech therapy appointments and gives the visibility into the therapist. So I stutter, and it came from personal pain, and it's a very underserved area. Speech therapy, it's a little bit forgotten, and so I'm trying to have a little bit of impact in the space, and also help a little bit, right? But it's very curious. You say that AI, it's very good at understanding words. We are doing exactly that. So we are also trying to make AI understand every voice. So not every fluent voice, since the accuracy it's already like the top chart, but also people with speech impediments that it's lacking. The series, the AI support chats that we now have, they don't understand people who stutter or people that have a speech impediment. So we are also making voice AI more accessible to everyone. So yeah, a little bit about me. I was also in software a few years. Then I worked in a big bank in Israel in the innovation team, and I'm a product manager. So I'm also very user centric. So yeah, awesome.
Great, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So as you can tell, we have an amazing panel here today, I actually didn't know that you all came from a data scientist background or engineering background. I don't think you need to in today's world. Like you can, like what you said, Arjun, you can build things quite easy. But as long as we have the understanding of what will be used, I think that's in the technology can work. They can be there. You can build it fairly easy today. But what would we actually use? What would be useful? And you are all building useful things, which I think is super interesting. So let's dive into the questions. But first, I want to just get a feel of the audience. Who of you work in human-centered AI? Anyone in here? A few people? 3, 4? Yeah. And who in here is still what is that? What you're trying to figure it out? Yeah. What is a human-centered AI, right? And the rest of you, I hope you're here because you find this area interesting in some capacity. So let's turn back to you, Paula. You focus on the sensibility of and giving AI the sensibility that is needed to understand humans and to be more human, like tone, expression, and behavior. So what in your opinion, why is emotional and social understanding essential for AI to become a true collaborator and not just a tool?
Yeah, I find that a lot of the AI solutions today, except the presence, are focused very much on productivity and efficiency. That's what you see most startups focusing on, making more, saving time from our work and all of that, which it's great. Whether it will actually give us more free time, we'll see. But I think we're missing a crucial component in how we build technology, that we build it so it actually understands us. So if it is supposed to be a collaborator, not just like a tool, then it needs to pick up on how we like to work, our preferences, that it personalizes based on, that does not look great when you're working with it, either coding or in supporting in therapy, supporting in meetings. There are a lot of things that it can do. And we need to ensure that we, as the builders of the AI solutions of tomorrow, we include this human perspective and this understanding of how we work as humans, because it's not just everything that's written in books and everything just written. It's so much about interaction, communication. And I think in the future, as we leave more things to some of the basic AI tools to do, when it comes to communicating with each other, I think it's important that we have solutions that are supporting us in that as well.
I like that, the communication between each other, right? It's again a collaborator partner. That's why it's becoming more than just a tool. And Arjun, you have help millions of people upskill and learn to adapt to the change in the world that we're seeing now. So what do people need to understand to feel empowered and not threatened when they are adapting or getting into the future of work?
Yeah, so when I think of my earlier business, Great Learning, well, I'm still part of it, but when I think about that business, we have at least many different segments, but two clear segments. One clear segment would be folks who are just not from a technology background. So for them, it's about just getting comfortable with the tool. So there's a lot of fear associated with, oh, is AI going to take my job away? Oh, it's just the technology barrier is so high. And we take it. I don't know how many are here from a technology background, at least on the panel. It seems everybody's from computer science, but I don't know. But what I've seen is if you're not from a technology background, a lot of people find it very hard to even just take the first step. What tool should I use? Oh, should I start coding in Python? How do I, it's just it's just too much of a barrier. So how do you break it down into manageable pieces to get started for someone who doesn't have a background? So that's one question. And then, of course, we also have a lot of people who come from a technology background. So then for them, it's a very different challenge. It's like, okay, now, what is it's not enough to learn technology. How do you apply it to solve real world problems? So, so at least a lot of the programs that we do is at the intersection of business and technology, where we're trying to marry the two things so that it's not just about learning a technology in isolation, but then using that to solve a real world problem, right? So that's the way I think of your question. What is it that people should do? I think it's about, you have to first gauge where you stand. Are you comfortable with technology? In which case it's about solving problems and how quickly can you implement those solutions. And if you're approaching it for the first time, it would be, where do you get started? What would be the first few steps to take? And now, as I said, I'm also very curious about this new segment that I'm thinking about, which are kids. And the whole reason why I went down that path is because I said I've got two kids, and I kept thinking about what should I teach them? What should I tell them? How do you orient them towards a future which is rapidly changing, rapidly evolving, and what should their skill set be? Especially if coding was like, growing up, computer science and coding was such a powerful tool, but now you prompt it and you get the code. So is that really what, if I were to think of, should my son really learn computer science and coding if in like 2-3 years Claude or some fancy model can just listen to what he's saying and then build the app for you? Right. So then in that context, so then what becomes a skill set that is relevant? So that's what started. And by the way, that you can extend it to someone in college and someone who is who is beyond that as well. It's not just for kids. You can extend that beyond. And where I've landed, I don't have a clear answer, but where I've landed is it's being able to be familiar with the tools. I think that AI tools are extremely powerful. So just know what those tools are, and then getting the confidence to, it's almost now like connecting the pieces, and finally comes back to the theme of this, which is, and I think Paula talked about it as well, is ultimately you have to solve for human beings. And how are you using this technology and these tools to solve real world problems that human beings have? You don't want to solve problems that AI has. You don't want to solve problems that human beings have. So the more, and I think we will crave that more. I feel that as more and more things are getting automated, I think human beings will crave for more interactions with other human beings, and like what we're doing here. So how do you use AI and how do you use technology to to enable that as opposed to replacing that? Right. So that's the way I think about that.
Yeah, it's like it's funny. We're here, like 30 people here. We're people, we're networking, we're seeing each other. So definitely solving for people, not just technology. Yeah, I agree. And Rodrigo, at Upspeech, you support people, like you said, the stutters and have that condition. It's in a vulnerable stage.
Yeah.
So how do you use AI and how do you develop that to actually support these people so they're not like feeling judged by AI or just automated?
Yeah, so I think as you guys already said, we need to stop the narrative that AI will replace everything and it's humans versus the machines. No, it's humans with the machines. It's proven that it works a lot better. But in repetitive tasks, it's really good. So the AI brings the structure and the consistency and quality to life, the repetitive flows. And so I think that the key point is to build the platforms and softwares around what people want, right? So, for example, we say we are an ecosystem since we are not replacing anyone. We need the human part still. So we need a therapist that helps people with speech impediments. We are just helping them having more reach and having more impact. So our platform gives a way of having visibility of what happens in between sessions. It's our biggest challenge, right? We need to apply everything we learn there, things to adjust our speech in real world scenarios. And we didn't have a safe environment where we could practice.
Yeah.
We could speak in front of the mirror, we could record ourselves, but it's weird. And honestly, it's very weird. And playing things that change our speech is very uncomfortable since it's unnatural, right? So our goal is to make the patients control the whole platform. AI will help, but the patients can choose if the AI is analyzing the speech or the patient itself can analyze his own speech. So I think even more in healthcare, we need to make AI very visible to the users, otherwise it won't work. So it has to be really clear on what is doing, what is capable of, what is the accuracy, what is the error rate, hallucinations, and so on. It should be visible. And I think that it's a key point, at least in healthcare, but I see that in every industry. People don't like things that they don't understand fully.
Yeah.
So I think it's one thing that we have to also have in mind. And I also think that to be accessible, I'm not saying that it should be that every software should have the same UI, but it helps to be familiar. And we see this with a bunch of AI tools, like everything is copying ChatGPT layout. And for us, it's very easy to start using. Like it's just a chat with a side panel with our prompts. And it's because people like familiarity and things they already know. So yeah. I think I went around the
Yeah, definitely. No, like how are we exactly the question was like how are we building AI to again feel like a companion and not like being judged by it, and integrating it into the way we use the familiarity, the transparency. I think that's most of us can agree to that. Okay, this is whoever wants to grab this question first. Can you share a moment when AI felt like a true collaborator in your own work, not just like a tool? And what was it that changed? Like, what was that like? Okay, we're in the partnership to make this happen.
I can go. I have a very recent example. So I'm a product manager. I was really used to design low fidelity mockups and trying things in paper and draw like the user flows and so on. And nowadays I could implement like I have a little bit of knowledge in software implementation, but I'm not an expert. And I did proof of concept of the platform with Lovable in 1 weekend. It was working front end wise, the back end a little bit shaky, but I actually was able to close the partnership with the biggest speech therapy clinic here in Portugal, and it's one of the biggest teams in Europe.
Wow.
And I could give them a realistic glimpse of what we wanted to do, and we got to a point where we said, all right, our visions are perfectly aligned, let's work together. So it's just a small example of the collaboration and the efficiency that AI can bring, but we are now implementing the full software. But it was very helpful to actually make our vision come true, or at least a small piece of it. So.
This is amazing. I personally, I really like that. I always felt a little bit strange because I'm quite a creative person, but since I didn't work in a creative field, I couldn't call myself creative. And then, but I was like, I'm building businesses, I'm doing this, I'm building, and now all of a sudden we can create, we can show what's in otherwise like business or data, like if you didn't have data science skills, but it's possible, like proven in a weekend. Yeah.
If I could add, I think it's a great example, but for me personally, because I'm doing this is my second time when I'm starting up in education. And 12 years back in 2013, when we started, what I probably, we, of course, if you actually think about it, you need a designer, you need a product manager, you need a content writer, you need somebody in marketing, you need somebody in ops, someone to create certificates, someone to create copy. Like if I actually break it down into the number of, and when we first started in 2012, 2013, we couldn't even move unless I put together a team of 8 or 9 people. I needed 9 people and then 6 or 7 months to finally get the product to market. Here, well, here's where AI is replacing those people, but we were able to actually, I was able to take, it was just me, and if I say so myself, the website looked damn good. I did it by myself, and I'm saying that was just not possible. It was just not possible to do it earlier. And I don't think, that's what I was trying to say earlier. I don't think you need a computer science background anymore. Like I'm doing what a designer would do, and it just looks beautiful and it just comes off up. And and even things like like in education, of course, communication is so important, right? What do you send? Setting expectations. What do you send before and after the class? What do you send after? So for me now to do that is just, again, if I had to send that communication, would be hours of work earlier. Now it's just like 2 minutes, very rough stream of conscious, just put it up and then it gives me a very, very, very well polished. Of course, everybody knows it's AI, but that doesn't matter, right? The point is, as far as communication is concerned, they know it's AI, but whatever message I wanted to send across, I was able to send across. So I think, so it's really, like 4 or 5 people, team members that I had 12 years back, I'm able to get, use many different tools to do research, for communication, for content, for design, for product. It's almost like you can set up your own little shop so quickly. And that, by the way, is what I'm teaching the kids. My program is exactly that. You can launch and be an entrepreneur in like a matter of weeks. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can I add to that?
Please.
Because I'm
Yeah.
doing the same. So I have like ChatGPT as a sidekick, like someone to bounce ideas with and also learn. So I have custom ChatGPTs for different kind of roles to get started with things. But I think for me, when it felt like, okay, this is really helpful for me to grow as well, and definitely a collaborator, was when. So even though I'm a software engineer and I can do a lot of things, program in different programming languages and so on, but there are also things like new technologies coming up. So how do I get started with this really fast? How do I deploy on this cloud or on that one? And I used it more in learning. Because often and I'm a bit concerned also about how the education is gonna change, because I've had interns in software engineering and they were just listening to what Claude or Gemini was telling them to do and just implementing. And whenever I asked, like, so why did you choose this service? It's Gemini told me, which is not a good answer. So got a bit concerned. But for someone so I do think people should learn computer science. But I think what's interesting, if you know these basic things and you have the curiosity and critical thinking and you're good at asking questions, then you can use it as a learning tool. Not just, okay, you implement what it says, but as like your teacher, kind of like, why did you choose? What's the pros and cons of this versus this other solution? And kind of have a conversation. I think that's super nice. You couldn't do that before. I would go, okay, online on Stack Overflow, Reddit, whatever, get a solution, but you don't have a conversation. You can finally have that now, and like you learn much faster.
Yeah.
But can I just
Quickly,
something? So, how do you see that? Because as you said, the key word there is tool. Like AI, it's a tool. How do you bring that critical thinking to a new generation that it's already born into it? So I'm a generalist, so I like to learn everything, and I did already by books using Google, but now with AI it's easier, it's more accessible, right? But I can think to myself if the output, if it makes sense, if I should go deeper, explore an edge case, it's useful. But do you have any points on how would you bring that foundation to like a younger generation?
Yeah, so that's exactly what I'm teaching.
Yeah.
So it's like the way I landed was why I call my program the AI Entrepreneurs Program. The AI part is just a sexy part. It's like if I want my kids to have like a sandwich, obviously you have to put the meat, right? But but you have to make things sound interesting. But then of course, as part of the entire program, I'm actually teaching them, how do the critical thinking, but you have to make it interesting. And then within the interesting part, you have to actually put together the fundamental blocks, right? So, so for example, I don't know if folks have done something called it's a fun challenge. It's a good team building activity. It's called the Marshmallow Challenge. It's not one where you put 2 marshmallows in front of kids to see if they'll. that's not the one. This is actually a pretty good one. You can look it up. It's where you understand prototyping. You understand the idea of iteration, trying multiple times, of failing fast and starting again. Of having like a strong foundation on which, so there are, and then, so that's one part of how do you actually build a product or a service or take to market. And there's also this part about, when you, like, if you make a child, in my case, if you make them come up with an idea and then go in front of the class and present it. So then they actually put a lot of effort to think through it. And then the other kids in the class are offering feedback. Now, I haven't figured out how to scale this, right? I can do this with 15, 20, 25 kids, where you're actually encouraging them to come up with a problem, present it in class, and everybody in the class is actually critiquing that, and then saying, oh, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? I see, it has to be, it's the good old-fashioned way. The AI part is just about making it interesting and sexy and for the times, but ultimately the critical thinking, the skill set, it's all, it's what our parents did. It's the same thing, right?
We need, critical thinking. We need good conclusion here. So to come back to what you mentioned briefly, like you said, okay, now I can do this myself, and I'm replacing basically maybe 12 people. We're here to not to talk about that, right? Like, so if you would mention in your domains, one thing where you think like this part needs to remain human. We touched upon it a little bit here with the critical thinking. Is there something else you would add?
Could I go for it? So I actually think we should talk about how AI is going to replace jobs, because I think majority of the jobs are going to be replaced. There's no sugarcoating that, right? And that's going to happen in marketing. It's going to happen in finance. It's going to happen, in software engineering. It's going to happen, as these systems get better and better. In our company itself, in Great Learning, we have now 1,500 people, and we have had 1,500 people for the last 4 years. But our revenue and profitability has grown by 4 times. So our staff has remained the same, and we've just gotten so much more productivity out of the existing, and it's all because of AI. And we have a great example. So earlier, for example, that we had translators and translators to translate content from one language to another. But now one translator can actually translate across multiple languages using the AI systems. So I think there are going to be many tasks that are going to be automated, right? And that that is the nature of, there's no point in, I think, fighting that. So then I feel that the opportunity is really about looking at, in my view, again, I said I have one view of where this is. I feel that there are some jobs that will just not go away. Like I do yoga every morning. I have a great yoga teacher. I don't foresee AI replacing her, right? And I don't foresee, there's I have a favorite restaurant and a coffee shop I go to. I don't foresee AI replacing the people there, right? From an interaction point, even though the coffee could be automated, I'm not going there for the coffee. I'm going for the interaction. And similarly, at certain restaurants and stores. So there will be a series of businesses and activities that AI will not replace. And I think there will be a series of activities that AI will replace. So for the rest of now the biggest issue is the white collar jobs are getting replaced, which is where I think everybody now started getting concerned. So what are all these folks going to do? I feel that you have to become to some extent entrepreneurs and start building products and services, because I don't think human challenges and difficulties and problems have gone away in this world. In fact, if anything, there are more. So I think getting many people who are getting replaced in finance jobs and marketing jobs and other kind of jobs can actually now spend more time and effort learning some of these tools and then solve problems. And there are real business cases to be. So I'm not really worried about that if people think about it from this as an opportunity.
Yeah. Like a good framing, of course. Like I also believe that AI will replace some of the existing jobs that we have today, that we see today, for sure, and we see that already. But we're also seeing new jobs being created, like more people becoming entrepreneurs and more people. Like I cannot even think of jobs that will be created. I don't even know in the future what it's going to be. But so becoming entrepreneurs, critical thinking. Paula, what's one thing in your field that you feel like this should and can benefit from remaining human?
I think we should put more focus on the soft skills. So like you're doing, asking people, the kids, to actually present in front of the others, be able to communicate, because I think that's very important and will stay. Like, even if our jobs will change, they always change. It has happened over centuries, but and we will adapt. I'm not concerned about that. but it's the soft skills, the communication, the empathy, connection between people that is so important, and we should probably be better at that.
The soft
Not
skills.
isolate ourselves, but rather use technology and use this opportunity to actually connect with people.
Thank you. Rodrigo.
Yeah, I think that these last few years with COVID being blocked up with the AI and so on, and we are seeing this everywhere. Everyone is craving human interaction, right? The community sense. Like you still have, I moved home 4 months ago, and I feel that I don't see the neighbors. You know, like I'm living in a empty building, and I see this everywhere I go. People need relate to be relatable with another peer. It's our human nature. So I don't think that anything will replace that. I think that we are now returning to our basics. So I think the technology is making us to rethink and saying like, all right, maybe I need a way of to not be so connected and so deep into the phones and computers that I need someone to speak about, just laugh, just have a beer, coffee, and so on. And in speech therapy, we say that we are the first multi-dimensional platform, exactly because we unite speech, the emotional, and the social part. So it's a problem that affects the psychological well-being and also social interactions. And so it's something that it's proven that a community that it's relatable, so that you have therapists there, that you have people who stutter or have a kid who stutter, have a real impact on the progress the person has. So at least in healthcare, it's mandatory to have someone human. But yeah, I think we are just learning to live a new life. And the AI foundations, it's not sustainable yet. So it's all backed in VC money, and you have OpenAI that has 220 million in ARR, but it's not sustainable still. So we are learning, I would say.
Yeah, we're gonna have to learn a new way of living and developing ourselves with this, together with this technology. But I like that that we can still replace again this, right? That we're actually meeting, that we're actually like seeing someone in healthcare, like that relationship, that human connections. Okay, so we're getting towards the end of this session. If you would be so kind to finish this sentence. The future of AI, human AI collaboration will be more. Arjun?
More fun.
Love that. Paula?
More social intelligence.
Okay, cool. Social intelligence. Rodrigo?
I would use maybe 2 words: more accessible and inclusive. I think that if technology and AI is used everywhere, everyone should have a glimpse of it. So it should have an inclusiveness as a part.
I mean, I think that sounds great. If it's more fun, more inclusive, more accessible, more socially intelligent, I mean, that's something that I'm looking forward towards. And yeah, I want to thank everyone for bringing your curious minds and for an insightful conversation, and hope we kicked off Web Summit in a good way. Enjoy.
Thank you.